Alright, let me get my screen going here. Alright, this is one of my favorite cooking labs, so we're going to be making chocolate chip cookies. Well, no, who am I kidding? All of them are my favorite cooking labs. Okay, so on day one, this is what you're going to need. The items that are on the left-hand side here are for the in the actual kitchen, and the items that are on the right side of the page are when you go back to the supply table. So let's start with the supply table. Of course, you need your tray. You're going to need some bowls because you're going to need, I think it's a cup and a half of flour. So you need a bowl that's going to fit that in there, and then you need brown sugar. Also put like the little measuring cups or the little cups here because you're going to need some salt and some things like that. Okay, clear plastic wrap, that's going to be for when you finish your cookie dough. We have to label the cookie dough with your kitchen number and your class period number, and then you're going to put it in the refrigerator, and then we will actually bake the cookies on day 2. Okay, you're going to need dry measuring cups, you're going to need the straight edge spatula, you're going to need the rubber scraper, which I might actually move over to the other side because I don't think you're going to need that for the supply table. And then you need your measuring spoons. Make sure you have the teaspoon and tablespoon just in case. I don't think you need both though. Okay, so while you're back at the supply table, people in the kitchen should be getting the hot soapy water ready to go. And then the KitchenAid mixer needs to come out. You're going to use this attachment right here. It is, oh no, I can't. I thought maybe I could get it bigger, but I can't. This is the, for batter, or not batter, that would be for cake. It's for cookie dough, but it's actually for batter too, but we're not making batter yet. Okay, you need a wooden spoon or some sort of larger spoon so that way you can stir in the chocolate chips once the dough is ready because you don't want to overmix your dough. And then you'll need a sifter. When you do your salt and your baking soda and your flour, throw it all through the sifter. That way it mixes it up really well. And you can actually use the wooden spoon to stir it up. So you're going to sift it right into this large bowl right here. And you're going to need a pretty large bowl for that flour. And then you need a dish towel and you need your hand towel. Okay, so day 1, your ingredients. You're going to need a cup and a half of all-purpose flour. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and you need a half teaspoon of salt. And then you'll also need a half a cup of butter at room temperature, which I will set those out earlier so that way those will be ready to go. And then you need a half a cup of firmly packed light brown sugar. And then you need 6 tablespoons of granulated sugar. So that's where you need your half cup, you need your 1 cup. These are dry measuring cups. You need a teaspoon, a half teaspoon, and you need a tablespoon. You need a large egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then a half cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. And those are your ingredients for day 1. Okay, instructions for day 1. In a medium bowl, you're going to sift the flour, baking soda, and salt together. In the KitchenAid mixing bowl, beat the butter on medium speed. Add both sugars and beat about 2 minutes until smooth. So you're just, I put on there about that much time on the mixer, but as soon as the ingredients mix together and you make sure you have everything scraped off the bottom, then it's going to be done. Okay, and then you're going to add the egg and vanilla. Mix on low speed until ingredients are well combined. And that's what I'm saying, don't overmix it. Gradually add the flour mixture for number 4 and mix until just incorporated. Do not overmix. And then number 5, add chocolate chips and stir with a wooden mixing spoon. Number 6, wrap dough in plastic and mark your period number, your class period number, and kitchen number put in the refrigerator. So that's all for day 1. I'm going to go back through that. I've forgotten something here. No. Oh yeah. When you're at the supply table, this is really important that some of the recipes you make, it doesn't have to be exact. But with this recipe for chocolate chips, it has to be exact. Or your cookies are either going to be too fluffy, you're going to have too much flour, or you've got too much salt, they're going to be too crispy if you have too much baking soda. Like it has to be the exact measurements for these things. So that's why I want your straight edge spatula that first day. That way you can dip into the flour bowl and then fill up your cup, and then you're going to scrape it off with your straight edge spatula. Same thing with salt. When you're using a teaspoon or half teaspoon or the tablespoon, you should be using your straight edge spatula on that as well. So we're going to be very accurate with our measuring. That's part of your directions for this lab, is how well you follow directions. Okay, so day 2, you're coming in, you're getting the large cookie sheet, and you might, this recipe is supposed to make 12, but usually it makes more than 12. So you might need another baking sheet, and you need to get both of those baking sheets in the oven at the same time because of time. At home, you can put one in at a time or whatever, but so you may need to find another baking sheet, and the other baking sheets that are in there don't have the little edges around the sides of it, and that's okay. So you're going to get parchment paper, you're going to have your cooling rack out. Oven mitts are pretty important, taking the stuff in and out and carrying the hot pans from the oven, and when it's time to wash them, you should let them cool off first a little bit, and then carry them over with your oven mitts. And then you're going to need a turner so that you can scrape the cookies off. And then on day 2, you also need one dish towel and one hand towel. Okay, so here's your directions for day 2. Hopefully I will have the ovens preheated for you, but if not, that is the first thing that you need to do, is get in there and get your ovens preheated. And then we are using the baking liners on top of the cookie sheets. That way you don't have a big mess to clean up. Get your dough from the supply table. I will have those out on the supply table. Use a small ice cream scoop or tablespoon if your kitchen doesn't have it, and drop the dough onto the prepared baking sheet. Make sure they are all the same size or they won't cook at the same time. And if you make, let's say, 4 giant cookies out of that dough, it will take forever to cook, and it will never cook the right way. We don't have the ovens like the ovens in, I don't even know what it's called. I think it's Aunt Millie's cookies place or whatever in the mall. They have the proper ovens, and we don't. So make them smaller. And then if you have any questions about the size of those, it should just be like the size of a regular sized tablespoon. Okay, I usually roll them in a ball also, and then just set them on the cookie tray. You do not have to smash them down. They will melt down because of the butter. That's one thing that it does. Okay, so bake the cookies approximately 8 to 10 minutes. Set the timer for 8 minutes and then check it. And then I would set the timer for another minute, and I would keep checking it. Most ovens run at a different temperature sometimes and different times, so that's why we say approximately 8 to 10 minutes. Cookies should be a light brown color on the bottom. Watch them very carefully. So when they're light brown, they might be just a little bit doughy on the inside, but then it says here to let the cookies cool for 5 minutes on the baking sheet because they keep cooking. So that little part that's doughy in the middle, it's probably going to cook through if you let it sit there for about 5 minutes. And then you're going to transfer it to the cooling rack, and then you're going to get all your stuff washed up, and then by the time you get everything washed, dried, and put away, you should be ready to go to eat these cookies. So pretty easy recipe. You can go back through. I'm just going to go back through the slides. This is kind of how they should look. I think these are just a little bit too done for me. I like them to be just like a little bit less of the browning on the top of it. Okay, so there's what you need from the supply table. Here's your day 1 ingredients. And we've got to make sure that we measure correctly. Measuring is very important for these cookies. Here's your day 1 instructions. And this is day 2 from the supply, this is what you need in your kitchen. Shouldn't need anything from the supply table except for your dough, right? And then there's day 2 instructions. Okay, hope you enjoy. Should be a lot of fun, this lab.